And that would be Charles Breakfield and Rox Burkey. How you doing?
We're doing
Awesome.
Awesome. And as we were talking before we came on the air, you were on the podcast before last March, episode 81. For those that want to go back and dig that up, and so you can find a little more background information of these two. But so we're going to kind of condense that this time. But still, we'll just do like a very 50,000 level overview of the two of you. And ladies first, Rox, why don't you tell us your listeners who you are and what you do?
Oh, so thank you very much, Lou. My name is Rox Burkey. I work full-time for a technology company, but I'm also a co-author of the Enigma series, which fortunately Charles and I write together, and we expand from thrillers, YA thrillers, cozy mysteries, contemporary women. So we've kind of expanded quite a bit, Lou, since we spoke with you before, and even released a children's book. So
wow. Okay. Well, we'll have to get into all of that. Charles, how about you? Tell the people who you are.
I'm full-time on our books. I'm the chief technology officer, and my role is to try and find neat, cool stuff to be able to bring into the stories from the technical threat side, and that's the fun part of the writing for me, and that's also the difficult part for Rox, because I'll show up with something and she'll go, are you serious? I mean, there's no, quantum physics. I mean, really? I mean, people can hardly spell that. I mean, that's, so I do get a little overamped, I admit, but it's part of that storyteller in me.
Right. So when you were on the last time, we talked about your first book in your TechnoThriller series, which was Enigma Tracer, correct?
Yep.
And
it is actually the first in the trilogy. And this is
trilogy.
the Enigma Heirs trilogy.
Okay.
So it's geared toward a YA audience.
Oh, okay. And who's the protagonist of your story?
Well, that one begins with an ecological gangster that has figured out a way to be able to take money from municipalities and pick up their trash and then dump it someplace that's unauthorized and keep the profits. So this is the first task of the new heirs leaders. They've inherited the role, the mantle, if you will, and it's sort of a fun exercise to see how new talent adapts to difficult situations, because no matter how much training you get, there's always something that gets thrown to you that you just didn't expect.
Right. And what's the name of the new talent?
The Enigma Heirs. That's the Gracie and her twin, Juan Jr., or JJ, as he prefers to be called.
Okay. So it's interesting dynamic to have twins as the leads of your story. Do you each write one of the characters separately, or is that a collaborative effort?
It's a great question. Actually, all of them are collaborative, but we do withhold the rights. Like, I can tell him that there's no girl in the world that would ever say it like that, and he conversely can tell me when I'm saying something from JJ's perspective clearly not right.
Okay, but you don't specifically silo yourselves to one of the two characters.
No. It's more of a what does the character have to be like in the story? How do they fit into it? And then we do some of that that Vulcan mind meld stuff, where we get into their personality, and the words just spill out on the page when we get into that creative stride.
Okay, so at the risk of being repetitive, I'm just trying to pin you guys down here a little bit. Do you like Rox? Do you have a preference for writing one character over the other?
Honestly, I don't. So what happens is we'll frame out the book, talk about what the interactions are going to be, and we typically do take a chapter. Okay, I want to write this chapter. He wants to write that chapter, and so will craft a chapter. And, you know, sometimes they're in order the way we've kind of postulated it. Sometimes, you know, it's wake up in the morning and, oh gosh, now we're over here because the characters took us that way. But then when we bring it together, we smooth it. So it sounds like a single voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the previous episode. It's kind of the same mechanic that Stephen and his son Owen did for one of their books that they wrote together. And I think that's the same method that you guys are using. So your second book in the series. No?
Let me intercept you right there.
Okay.
They're using the Breakfield Burkey method.
Oh,
Ours
okay.
yeah,
My apologies.
ours is patent pending. You know, it's a literary ping pong back and forth till we get the
Right.
smoothing done. I know it's bad manners to correct the host on the podcast, but I just wanted to intercept that detail.
No problem. Okay, so the first book was about garbage, and the second book, Enigma Forced, is about
It's really about human trafficking,
oh,
drugs, and
you guys have really stepped it up.
cartels.
And this is still YA.
Correct.
Wow, that's a pretty heavy subject for a YA novel.
Well, yes,
Well-
no, because that's who gets kidnapped. Teenagers. Those are the people that get sold into slavery.
Right.
Teenagers. It's, you know, they don't grab grandma. They all, you know, it's the teenagers. So why not aim it at the people who are the most vulnerable and sometimes are situationally unaware of the predators on the landscape. And so we did a lot of research on the human trafficking, the heartbreaking situations of families trying to get across the border into the U.S. and there are these predators waiting for them, saying, "I can get you in. It's just going to take a few shekels." And next thing they know, they're working for the drug cartels. The kids have been sold into brothels. It's a very, we don't get into the ugly gory details, but we don't pull any punches about here's what's at stake, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Well, it's obviously very timely. I don't know if that was spurred by real world events or had you already planned that?
Yeah, we did a lot of research on, you know, where the fentanyl precursors being produced, shipped, and then you know, how is it being paid for, the money laundering aspect of it. We go into a lot of detail on that book, and it's gotten us a lot of awards. Not to be too you know, shy about talking about the number of awards it's gotten, because it has done extremely well in the competitions we put
Well, that's
in.
fantastic. Yeah. As a Canadian, I'm curious, is there any Canadian connections about fentanyl in the book? Or
There's actually some. We don't get into that. I mean, we didn't want to, you know, expand it to 1,000 pages.
Sure.
But you know, there's some things that you know, there are some trafficking that goes across everywhere, and it's all money driven. So it's, you know, we didn't get into stuff that's being done in Europe too. So we got close to home. It's
as a Canadian, I just had to ask. That's all.
Yeah.
But you know, greed and money and power, you know, they'll turn people.
Absolutely.
And it's just part of the underbelly of human nature.
Okay. So is it the same antagonist in this story? Is there a new villain?
No, actually, there was. We postulated there were 3 half brothers.
Okay.
The first one is Philip Plant. He's the one taking plastics, taking them to the Caribbean, supposedly refurbishing them for plastic materials that can be used for building. Actually, they're being pressed into one-time weapons, but that's a different story. Second part is Mateo, and he's the second brother, rather unsavory type, very vicious, demanding, and very much in charge of his organization. But he has people that he has to satisfy. So he's not his own master. He likes to think that.
Okay. And based on the first book, does he have a personal axe to grind with the two twins at all, or?
No,
No, they actually don't know the twins, and they don't know that they're being sought by the R group and the Cats team, which are the two heroes teams. So
Okay.
Gracie actually heads up our group, and JJ heads up Cats teams, but they work together.
Okay. Is there any personal connection for either character with this human trafficking at all, or like is there a friend involved, or?
So their feet on the street in Enigma Forced, their feet on the street team that
Mhm.
tries to find out where the group is originating and which cartel is actually driving this ends up getting captured.
Okay. Wow.
I don't want to give any more than that because I don't want to create a spoiler.
Sure. Okay. No, that's good.
So
That's
then it becomes personal.
right. So
becomes
that's a great hook. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that this is a trilogy, and you're expecting the next book to be coming out when?
May 1st.
It will be May
May
1st is the
1st.
date that
And
it's
what's the
slotted
title of
for.
that one?
Enigma Jewels.
It's in the
Jewels.
upper right-hand corner of the image behind Roxanne.
Oh,
And
okay. Very good.
it's we're just putting the finishing touches on it. I've got a few more chores to do for the before we release it in Amazon.
Okay.
But that's the third and probably the most slippery half brother of the three.
Mhm.
The money laundering genius. His idea of a good time is stealing
Okay.
jewels.
Ah, but he's not a cat burglar.
No,
Nope.
he's harvesting jewels
Okay.
on the Mediterranean floor that have been
Uh.
part of the littered landscape underwater from the 1600s, when the Spanish decided that everything that was in South America belonged in Spain,
Mm.
and the British said, "Well, we're going to take exception to that." So they fist fight it out, and a lot of ships go to the bottom. A lot of ships never make it back to Spain, and so there's a vast treasure hoard of not just coins, but rare stones
Right.
that if you can figure out a way to be able to harvest them, you
Mhm.
can be wealthy beyond belief.
Okay. And is this treasure based on fact or?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Of course.
Yeah. We're kind of fussy about that. We
Right.
don't. We make up stories all the time, but they
Sure.
got to make sense too. I mean, that's there's got to be foundations, the technical angles that we work on. Those are all fairly well researched and snapped together because of our technical background. We understand how
Mhm.
they work. So, but that's what the bad guys do. They figure out good technology that can be repurposed for doing evil stuff. So
Right.
that's what this trilogy is all about.
Okay. Now, how have the twins changed from the first book to the third book?
So that's another really, really good question. So when they first started taking the reins of the R group and the Cats teams, they felt they had good experience. They were shown by their parents and other members of the family overall how to thwart the bad guys, whether they were cyber criminals or actual people that they could find on the
Mhm.
streets. But they ended up putting themselves at risk, and so they have grown immensely.
Okay.
They've grown with the experiences that could have cost them more than just losing the criminal.
Hmm. Okay. And I'll repeat the earlier question. Is there any personal animus from the third half brother towards the teams?
Actually, yeah, he's brushed up against him in book 2,
Okay.
and they had 2 of their operatives in close proximity in book 2,
Hmm.
and they were snagged and they were about to be sold into slavery, and it was only
Okay.
at the last minute that they were. Well, let's not get too detailed on that.
Yeah, that's fine. I just
Yeah,
wanted to know if there was at a
Yes.
certain point, I was just hoping that
Yeah.
these half brothers had become aware of the team, of the twins. to make it more personal.
It does make it really, really personal, and it
right,
becomes
raises the stakes.
it becomes something where they're fighting together
right.
to vindicate.
Bring to justice is the phrase I would like to highlight.
Right.
That's what the R group and the Cats team are all about. Bringing the justice,
Right.
not getting revenge. That's okay. Let's be fair. I mean, a little revenge is okay, but
Sure.
it's not the primary motivation.
Right. So you've mentioned this is a trilogy. Is there any thoughts about expanding the series beyond the third book, or are you pretty set in making it a 3 and done?
I think in this case, because of the settings of all of this, primarily in Mexico and the Caribbean,
Mm-hmm.
this will remain a trilogy in and of itself. That doesn't mean that the twins couldn't come back and do something else in another trilogy, another series, or a standalone novel. So
Okay.
the characters that we've created, starting with the Enigma series, they can go on.
Right. And how old were they when in the first book, and how old are they in the third?
So they're in their late 20s in the first book and just over lower 30s
Oh, 30s.
by the
Okay.
end. So it's a few years in
Right.
total.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about the series?
It is available in audiobook, ebook, and paperback.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some book trailers for each of the stories that kind of will help, I think, excite
Okay.
readers and fans. And
And
they
they
can be
can-
found on our website.
Right. Yeah, they can find the links there. Okay. And before we got on the air, you also mentioned that you have been quite busy with other books, and one of them was a children's book.
Yeah, if you want to talk about that one, Rox,
Sure.
that was you came across with that one. That was a swell approach to something we've been kicking around for quite some time.
Okay. And what's that all about?
Well, it's we had wanted to bring together some lessons, life lessons for the readers that in the 8 to 14 years old, where they may not have gotten all of the education that they need
Mm-hmm.
to be able to help chart a course for their future. So what we wanted to do was it's called The Dream, and it's about this young girl and her older brother, and she has a dream, and she said we have to follow this dream, and it's the life lessons that go along with that, the interactions with the animals, and she discovers that or he discovers that she can visit with animals, and they have some mythical characters that pop in, and one of the lessons is you can go faster by yourself, but you can go farther if you have a team.
Oh,
And
very
so
nice.
that and then following the dreams, that's what the book's about, and it's got some activities towards the back. It's got some
Okay.
areas for coloring,
Mm.
and it's also got AI enhanced images that I help craft to be able to help tell the story. AI
Okay.
is not used to tell the story, but the pictures and what could be built to be able to help visualize what the dragon looked like, what the raven looked like, what the wild boar looked like. Those
Mm.
kinds of things as storytelling enhancements is what we wanted to be able to package, and we're quite pleased with the way it came out. And we've tried our target audience was some of the offspring that she has in her family.
Mm-hmm.
They read it and insisted on copies.
Oh,
So that's
there you go.
always flattering when
Yeah.
when they're 8 and 9 years old. They, great
Right.
gobs of Geronimo gravy. Can I have this and sign too? And I'm like, wow, okay.
Awesome. Awesome. And are you planning to do more children's books, or?
I think that's
Actually, it was a great, fun way to deliver a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy is a wonderful genre for children to be able to learn things from without feeling like it's a school book, right? It's not
Yep.
written as a textbook. And so
Hmm.
images with, some of the wonderful images that are included were part of our practicing how to use AI to create images. So one thing that's important in this chapter book is that all of the content of the words is ours.
Hmm.
So we didn't use AI to generate any of that. But the images, we felt that stick figures weren't going to be enough, which is about all either of us can do with, pencil and crayons. And so the graphics using AI were much more exciting and fun, and did allow for some of the afterbook activities like coloring and crosswords and those kinds of things. So maybe I think it's an avenue that we would have fun with.
Right.
It's a little different, a little less serious than doing a thriller that you're trying to really, have people
Hmm.
terrified and nail biting from beginning to end,
Right.
but still have fun with it. And I
Yeah.
think kids should have fun reading.
Yeah. It's kind of like doing flash fiction in a way, right? Because it's such a condensed format. So it's yeah,
Yep.
every word has to be carefully chosen. Uh, yeah, that's interesting. So I know you have another book come a mystery book, the Ransom Enigma. Is that correct?
Yep. The Ransom Enigma is part of the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles, which, Charles, why don't you explain how we got involved with a dozen authors? That's always exciting.
Yeah,
Oh,
so this is a little bit different, Lou.
okay.
What happened was that we got invited to write a short story uh, with a very good friend of ours, and come to find out he had 12 other authors that said he said the same thing too, and he goes, "Here's your picture." He shoves this picture at us and says, "You got 30 days to give me a short story because I'm going to publish it, guys. This is my new gig." We had so much fun with it that
Mm,
everybody shot back like, "Hey, well, why don't we build our own hypothetical city, Magnolia Bluff, in Texas, in the Hill Country, and let's have a bunch of cozy mysteries that occur." The tagline for the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles is that there's people dying to get in there. So it's a it's a fun exercise, and so each one of us takes a month of the year and delivers a standalone book in the Magnolia Crime Chronicles arena. We may borrow
mm,
characters from each other. We may introduce new characters. The rule is that if you borrow somebody's character, you can't whack them. So that's one of the hard, fast rules.
okay.
But it's turned into kind of a fun routine. We're in the fourth season of this routine,
Mm,
and the third book that we wrote, the Enigma Ransom Enigma, sorry, was had won third place in the mystery series for the competition that we entered in the Global Book Awards. So like,
mm,
okay, that was very good. We had
mhm.
two before that, and we're working on the fourth one for August, released of August of this year, and that's what we're working on right at this point in time.
Okay. Just to clarify for me, like you said that the initial round there was like 12 authors were invited to do this.
Mhm.
That was a separate project from what you're doing with these. Um,
Yeah, it was basically it's an anthology that he had put together. We wrote
okay.
like short stories, like like I don't know, 2,000 words, something like that. Um,
Hmm.
and then he just bolted them all together and just said, okay, it's this is the book that kind of launched the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles.
Okay. And is that format the same going forward, or are you doing something on your own now?
No, it's each month somebody, one of the authors will write a book
Okay.
and put it on the and add it into the series on Amazon as
Okay.
book number 28, 29, 30. I think
Okay.
31 is what we're up to, the newest one. And that book belongs to that author, but it's got the same flavoring, a lot of the same characters that we've all used.
Okay.
Tommy Yeager, the police
I got
chief.
you now.
That's the and so everybody's got a stake in keeping the tension high, using characters in the same way that other people have used them. but everything's
Mhm.
just a little bit different, even if you're using the same characters. It's kind of fun watching the new dynamics from author to author when
Right.
we're going through these the different trying to solve these particular crimes.
Right. Yeah, because I was going to ask you if there was any crossover between the stories. So it sounds like there is. You're reusing characters.
There is
Um,
to a degree. Yeah. So
mhm.
you live in Alberta. Do you live in a
Yep.
small town or a big town?
For Alberta, it's a medium-sized town, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Okay. So in small towns, and I don't know, I've only been to Alberta one time, and it was only for like a 2-week period. So,
Okay.
but in small towns here in Texas, everybody knows everything about everybody. They're gossips, they tell
Right.
tales, but your next door neighbor could be your best friend, and
Yeah.
yet it might be somebody that Charles can't stand. And so everybody has their own perspective on some of these characters.
Right.
So as long as we
Yeah.
don't kill someone else's character, we can leverage them. They can have our point of view about them.
Okay.
But each book is totally a standalone.
Mm,
And for us initially, it was really all about, could we do a cozy mystery?
sure.
And so it allowed us to kind of stretch a little bit with
Sure.
our writing. So it was kind of fun from that perspective. But each book is a standalone, written by a different author, and you can write one a year into the series.
Okay. And do you communicate with the other writers to say, "Hey, I want to do this," and or somebody gets in touch with you and says, "We want to use one of your characters," kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah, yeah.
Is there like a
exactly.
central gatekeeper for all this, or
There's a
is it
Well,
Dropbox where we keep the information,
right?
and we do ask questions. We have monthly meetings
Oh,
and
okay.
that kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But every once in a while, you get a surprise because the guy that was writing before us that month, Joe Congle, um, he kind of forgot to tell us what he was going to do with our character.
Mm,
He said, we said, Joe, what do you mean? You have one of my favorite characters from the Magnolia Bluff tied to a chair that's wired with C4 to explode. Tell me that you're not going to whack him, okay?
right.
And he
And
laughed. He
did
said,
he?
no, no, no. She gets out of it. I just, I should have alerted you that, because it's what we'll get is sometimes another author say, hey, I want to use this
Well,
character. Can you give me some background on them? What do they look like, and details,
yeah.
and maybe a snippet of some of their dialogue to help set their pace? I've done that when they've asked for it.
Right. Right. Well, next time you run into that with Joe, you says, "Be careful, buddy, because I could use one of your characters and do something to them that you don't like."
Yeah.
um, okay, so you've got that going on. You're closing off your Enigma Tracer series. Now, what are you doing after these two projects?
Oh, that's TBD at this
Okay.
point.
Okay.
We've always got ideas that we got more ideas to work on than we have time.
Right.
Is probably that you've probably never heard of that particular problem, but
No.
we
Yeah. Okay. And I would be remiss, Rox, if I didn't ask because you've got that nice background behind you. You've got all these books with the word Enigma in them. So can you explain what's going on with all these books?
I can, and it's kind of fun. So I don't know if your listeners will recall the original Enigma machine that made its appearance during World War II. And it
Right.
was used by Germans to provide uh, military plans to all of their troops, which couldn't be decoded. That capability of encrypting and decrypting information is something that's built into all of our devices today, whether it's your phone or your computer or whatever the case is. That same element, though clearly today it's a lot more miniature than it
Sure.
was at that moment in time. So
Right.
we decided to use that as the theme initially because of the technology element that
Okay.
we leveraged in the big series, which is a 12-book series, and then of course in the trilogy for the Enigma heirs. So the Enigma is kind of the foundational element that we leverage to be able to do that.
Okay. And so, like all these other books, Rising, Ignite, Always, Wraith, Like, are these different series or?
Yep. They're part
Okay.
of the actual original Enigma series, which are the parents
Okay.
and uncles and aunts of the twins that come out in the Enigma Heirs.
Okay.
And so each book in that series focuses on a cyber threat.
Okay.
So Enigma Factor, as an example, which is book number 1, focuses on identity theft.
Hmm.
And then if you look to the middle, almost, or just next to my ear, the Enigma Threat is actually about the AI wars.
Oh, okay. So, and how many books are we talking about here with the parents and relatives?
Well, 12 books in the big series.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. Now,
So
just if I could, Lou,
sure.
there is a precursor to the entire series
Mm.
called Out of Poland. And
Okay.
what we did, we wrote a historical fiction. We turned it into a screenplay, but that's a different story. But by book 10, somebody said, "Where did these people, these high moral ground people of the R group, where did they come from?"
Mm.
And we sat down and went, "Okay, let's build the story for where they came from." And it begins in 1939 when the Germans rush into Poland and seize them in 30 days.
Okay.
Three three patriots from the army see that almost everything is lost, but they want to hit back, and they
Mm.
steal one of the Enigma machines
Right.
to get it to the Allies, and
Right.
that's their task is to get it, get out. But they see the value of it, so they make a copy for themselves, and that's what helps them build the information dynasty of the
Mm.
R group. That the Enigma series, the 12 books you see behind rocks,
Mhm.
that's the foundation for where their intelligence has come from.
Sure. Okay, very good. So I know you haven't decided what you're going to do next, but I'm expecting that it's going to be like the Enigma Next Generation, perhaps, or something like that. Or is
Oh,
it time
it
to
could
move
be that
on?
we're gonna, it could be that we're going to maybe take the same themes and help young people be a
Okay,
little more careful when they're using technology.
right.
Um,
Which is a big concern
Unfortunately,
nowadays.
we're
Yeah,
victims. We're all
yeah,
victims of cyber crime. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, very cool. So I think that's all I got. Is there anything that hasn't been mentioned that either one of you would like to talk about right now?
Well, based on podcast, sometimes people get asked the question, "Do you guys have audiobooks as well?" Because
Okay,
we've
fair
had
enough.
people say that we've been at shows where they say, "Oh man, this looks great, but I don't have time to read." I say, "Well, can you
Mm,
listen?" They go, "Well, yeah. I mean, I'm in a car all the time. I got to take the kids. I got to travel across. You get any
mm,
audibles?" And so, yes, they're an audible format, and
awesome.
that's the we've got some awards with our voice narrator. We don't call him the voice actor, not a narrator, because at 150 character plus, he's got to be able to keep all those accents, male, female, age,
Right.
separate, and they have to be unique. And sometimes we bring them back, and so we'll spend time saying, okay, in book number so and so, we use this character, and we've moved him forward again. So, can you use that same voice style? And he does. He's that
Awesome.
meticulous. It's
All right. You
uh,
want to give a shout out to your actor?
Derek Scholes.
Derek Scholes. All right.
Yeah.
There you go,
He,
Derek. So you send me your check. All right. Rox, do you have anything that you want to add?
not really, other than Lou, we really appreciate being a part of your show, and you're
Well,
always so gracious and informative. I know that all your fans absolutely adore this show. So thank you.
awesome. Well, thank you very much for the kind words. And I look forward to talking to you again, maybe in another year or so when
That'd be
you have
great.
your next project coming up.
yeah,
All
we'd
right.
be most grateful if you would.
Sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day and the best of luck with whatever you decide to do next.
Thank you, Doug.
All right. Take
Thank
care now.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.